Deep a little bit more. Okay, so are you ready, Nee? You got some good lighting? Okay. We're here at the Conservative Reform Network, and we're going to talk to Mr. Ponnuru about whether all lives matter. So this was a big dust-up with O'Malley saying that all lives matter, and a lot of people in a forum booing him for that. He had said that black lives matter, white lives matter, and all lives matter was the obvious conclusion. But then he had to retract from that statement. So I wanted to get your comments on that. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it shows the extent to which a very irrational kind of left-wing tendency is now driving the Democratic Party and making a fetish of its own slogans and causes. Because in no rational world would you take Governor O'Malley's remarks to mean that he is indifferent to questions surrounding police violence and police practices, whether they need to be reformed, but he simply didn't repeat the slogan of the activist left, Black Lives Matter, as though there's a large number of people in this country who don't believe that Black Lives Matter. And what was even more telling was not that he was booed for these really anodyne, innocuous remarks that he made, but that he groveled and apologized in response, and really sort of shamefacedly agreed more or less to parrot more reliably left-wing slogans.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I want to talk about this, because let's examine the slogan itself. The slogan is Black Lives Matter. Now, what's the implication of that slogan? Because every time a black man is killed by the police, there's a parade or a group of people protesting saying all Black Lives Matter. So I want to unpack exactly what is it that they're saying. So basically, as I understand it, I'd like to get your view. As I understand it, what's happening is that they claim that that black person was killed because he was black, and the police didn't care about his life because he was black.
Right.
But there's no evidence to support that.
Well, you have to look at the specifics of each case.
Absolutely.
You can't just fit each case that comes up into a predetermined template. There are certainly cases of police misconduct, and there are legitimate issues as to our approach to policing, our approach to incarceration, for that matter. But what you can't do is take each story and assume that that's what happened there. And unfortunately, we now have this climate of racialized suspicion in which people are being led to assume that each of these incidents supports the most nefarious possible interpretation.
I like that phrase, racialized suspicion. Racialized suspicion. That's exactly what's happening. They are prejudging the situation, not investigating the facts. It's possible that in a particular case, a policeman did not treat a man properly, and that the reason he didn't was because he was black. But that, just because he's a policeman and the guy was killed, you can't jump to the conclusion that it was a racial prejudice on his part. So I think unpacking that, and that's not the first time that there's a slogan like this. You remember the other slogan were hands up, don't shoot. Now both of these slogans were based on, in many cases, something that didn't happen. In other words,
the hands up, don't shoot thing appears to have just been based on myth, based on unreliable and discredited testimony. But people are still using it, and it's going to outlive the discrediting of the myth. I think that it has been really extraordinarily unfortunate the way these issues have been politicized, because there are situations where you could have an important conversation about reforming some of these practices, which maybe some of them are unfair, maybe some of them are prone to being seen as unfair in a way that gets in the way of healthy community relations.